I actually had this example personally. I had a blender from America. I tried plugging it into an Israeli outlet, and the electricity voltage in Israel is apparently way too strong for this blender, and as soon as I plugged it in, the blender was finished and it wouldn't turn on again because it had too high of a surge of energy. So the same thing is when God creates the world, he needs to dim down the energy, and not just dim it down a little, but dim it down so much so that we can receive our life force from him. Because if you would put his pinky finger put his pinky finger in our world, then the world would cease to exist from the great surge of revelation. And therefore, for us, we have a dimmed down version of reality. And we don't see everything behind the picture, behind the scenes, but it's a smoke screen. It's a smoke screen that blinds us, but it doesn't blind God. And by God's point of view, everything is like it was before it was created, now, even afterward. It's like it doesn't exist. It doesn't have any value in front of him. It's like the example that's famously given is when a teacher wants to give something over to their student, then if they're going to tell the student the subject the way they understand it on the teacher's level, what's going to happen is the student's not going to be able to withstand the wisdom. So instead, the teacher has to say the teaching in different words, in words that are watered down, that the student can bear, can accept. And then the student can listen in to what the teacher's saying, can understand and conceive that idea. So by the teacher, because they are the ones that explained it to the student in that watered down way, when the teacher has a look at that explanation, at that watered down explanation, then they see all the depth within those words that he changed. The student doesn't see all the depth. The student doesn't really know everything yet until he really thinks about it for years and years, and then maybe he can reach the depth. So the same thing is with the creation of the worlds. For Hashem to create the worlds, for God to create the world, he couldn't give us over reality the way it is by him. Because what's reality the way it is by God? He is one and nothing else exists. So there's no room for a world in that great plane of reality. Instead, what he had to do is make a kind of coding that changes the view of reality, for there to be a receiver to understand what's going on. God had to create a world that would basically water down the truth, which is that God is one, and allow us to exist simply. But because he created it, therefore, when he looks at our world, our watered down world, what does he see? He sees the depth behind it. He sees the truth in that all is one. God is one. When we look at the world, we see a house, a car, a mountain, a river, whatever. We don't necessarily see the truth, the depth behind it. We see our watered down version. But the depth behind this reality is the one God. And that is how we can understand that God is one and didn't change.